74 days to go until the American people make one of the most momentous decisions in the history of the country. This is the warning. This is how the Democratic nominee for President of the United States, Vice President Kamala Harris, framed the choice.
Fellow Americans, this election is not only the most important of our lives, it is one of the most important in the life of our nation. In many ways, Donald Trump is an unserious man, but the consequences of putting Donald Trump back in the White House are extremely serious.
She couldn't be more correct, and she couldn't be more correct about this. These people have lost their minds, but it sounds better coming from the presidential nominee.
He plans to create a national anti-abortion coordinator and force states to report on women's miscarriages and abortions. Simply put, they are out of their minds.
Donald Trump and the radical MAGA Republicans support a dogma of control and a philosophy of taking. They think the purpose of public life and politics is to enrich their friends and take as much for themselves as they can get their paws on. Look at this rancid family of scammers, of criminals, of fraudsters. They set up a fake university. Doesn't that tell you something? This has been a shattering 4 days for Donald Trump because at long last, after 10 years, the Democratic Party has finally figured out that it is the communications of diminishment, of mockery, that looking at Donald Trump and seeing what an unsubstantial, unserious person he is, and not trying to lecture people about what they know about him, but instead pointing out what a buffoon he truly is how Americans respond to power being taken and deflated from an overfilled balloon. Donald Trump is exactly as the vice president said he was, a deeply unserious person. But the consequences for the nation, for our children, about having a deeply unserious person as commander-in-chief are extraordinary. They're epic. The world is a dangerous place. I watched this speech from outside the United States. The sun is rising here in Slovenia. I watched this extraordinary speech, the close of this remarkable convention with a group of Americans in a hotel lobby far from American shores. We watched together a woman reach for her destiny. We watched the remarkable story of America evidence itself to all the world. A daughter of immigrants from India and Jamaica is on the precipice of the most powerful and important office in the world. She is on the edge of being the American commander-in-chief. And she is a defender of our way of life. The idea that when the people decide who gets power, we transfer it peacefully. The idea that we are a nation of laws. This concept, which she enunciated so beautifully, that a crime against one of us is a crime against us all. For the people, 40% of the people in the United States don't have $400 available for an emergency. Because they have been disenfranchised from opportunity, their hearts have become opened to the type of demagoguery and cynicism represented by this guy and 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 this guy. All of them are a pack of malicious weirdos that are unprecedented in the modern history of the country. Their appetite for taking, for control, is insatiable, and it's un-American. This is a country where freedom matters. We are not a people who are told what to do, by the people we elect into office. What this week was about was a preview for an era of restoration, of renewal, of going forward. Generational change in a young country, in a democracy, is essential. And this week, we saw the explosion of excitement. This week, the American people showed the world what American politics can be. Inspirational, idealistic. This 4 days in Chicago, which was compared to 1968, which was predicted to be a cauldron of chaos and violence, instead turned out to be the greatest political convention of the electronic age. In a time of luminescent cynicism, America was washed over by idealism. And so to close out, let's look at some of the highlights of this remarkable 4 days of renewal.
On the other side of that glass ceiling is Kamala Harris raising her hand and taking the oath of office as our 47th President of the United States.
America's ready for a better story. We are ready for a President, Kamala Harris.
I want to know, who's going to tell him that the job he's currently seeking might just be one of those black jobs?
We won't go back. We won't be set back, pushed back, bullied back, kicked back. We're not going back.
On behalf of everyone whose story could only be written in the greatest nation on earth, I accept your nomination to be President of the United States of America. So let's get out there, let's fight for it, let's get out there, let's vote for it, and together let us write the next great chapter in the most extraordinary story ever told. Thank you.
They give the American people the choice and the chance they deserve. In the end, Winston Churchill observed that in democracy, the people get the government they deserve. The truth of the matter is, the United States is better than Trump. The American people are better than Trump. The American people, though, will have to make a choice. We'll have to prove, we'll have to assert that this madness is over, that we don't want it, and yes, we never deserved Donald Trump. I'm Steve Schmidt. This is The Warning, and I invite you to subscribe on our Substack, on our YouTube channel. Follow us. Welcome to the community.